Hi, my name is Jeff Rhodes, and this is another video on Microsoft 365 based on my book, Creating Business Applications with Microsoft 365. As I mentioned in our last video, I am now available for consulting or training, anything that you need. So reach out at plattcanyon.com, and it's got my email address, and feel free to grab my resume and so forth. So this is the third in a series. It's another one that's going to take a while, but I'll try to go as quickly as I can. But we wanted to go in and do with a SharePoint data set, the user experience for signing up for a course and how to work with the multiple lists and so forth. So let's get going. So as you might, if you saw the last video, we had a general purpose, kind of an admin view where you could add courses and instructors and so forth. And here's what the tables look like. We've got an attendee table, instructor. The instructors go into the course. You've got the course, so you can see the name and the capacity and so forth, and then a link to the instructor, which is a lookup column. And then in the course, you've got some sign-up notes, sign-up date, but then it links to the attendee and to the course. And so what we want to do today is what kind of experience can we offer to the user who logs into the application. And one of the first things we're going to deal with is right now I don't have the logged in user in my attendees table. So we're going to make sure that if they log in, we add them in. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm in a solution. I'm just going to do a new Canvas app. I'm going to call it Video SharePoint User Registration. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a header. And let's make sure that's up at the top. So I'll put that 0. There we go. And I'm going to insert a logo, a little transparent logo, just get it started. We'll call this menu screen. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video at some time so you don't have to watch me build stuff. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to build our buttons and put a spinner control in, and so that and then we'll come back. So be back shortly. All right, well, I'm back. So I built the spinner and the buttons, but let's first talk about the spinner. You can see I put one in there and matched it up to the size and put inside a container, matched it up to the width, and then the dropped it down below the header at the top. And what you want to do with these, you've probably done this before, but you want to go in and go for the visible. Right now I've got it set as true. And actually there's two things. So I'm going to put a variable in there, but before I do, I also want to change its fill color so that it's disabled below. So the easiest way is just to come in here and build a color. We can do it maybe more transparent so you can see the stuff below it. And then we'll go ahead and make this a variable, var show spinner. And it will have a value once we set that. And then I've got 3 buttons here. And we'll go ahead. Right now I can't get to them, but I can click over here at these buttons. And I've just put the past training. We're going to disable this so we can view past training, view upcoming training, or sign up for or edit existing training. I've also put a gallery. As you might remember in the last video, I talked about using galleries to avoid delegation errors. So we're going to link that up to our attendees. But let's go ahead and add our data so we can do that. So we'll do SharePoint. And we'll grab that example site that has those, and we'll just add our list for those that I talked about. So we can go, oh, and what we're also going to need to do while we're here is we're going to want to get some information on the currently signed in user. So I'm going to need this Office 365 users as well. So we'll go ahead and add that in there. And so now we can see what we're going to do with our gallery. So for the items property, what I want to do is I want to filter attendee where I'm looking for the email equals what we're going to call var current user dot mail, and all our current users are logged in users. So it's not working yet because I need to set that up. So let's go over to the app to on start, and that's a good place to do things that we're setting up right when the application starts. So I'm going to do two variables. One we're going to use on the menu screen, so we call it var user and attendee table. We're going to just set that to false. And then I'm going to do another one, which is var current user. And what I'm going to do is it has a my profile, and I always like to use the latest one. And it will load not just the email and the display name, but all the information out of Intra ID, previously active directory. So I can say run on start, and then we'll see if I go over here. Now this one doesn't have a problem anymore. So let's, just so we can see it, let's go put the text in here. So I'm going to say this item dot mail. Oh, it's, sorry, this is attendee email. Oops, got the wrong one. Then I'll do the next one down. This is this item dot first name. Yeah, that was first name, so we'll put last name. Whoops. Sorry, got in a bit there. Trouble with that. Here we go. Oops, where'd it go? Oh, that's the one I don't have. Attendee last name. All right, so we don't have any of that yet, but we will. So let's see. Oh, the var show spinner still giving me an error because I haven't set that up. So let's go in. We got quite a bit of programming here. That's what most of this video is going to be, setting up collections and so forth. So let's go ahead and come in and go to the on visible, which is a good spot to do it. So I'm going to come over here, and first thing I'm going to do is on the way in, I'm going to say show spinner. So I'm going to say set var show spinner. Set that to true. And then at the end, I'll set it to false. So might as well copy that and set it to false, and we'll just fill in the stuff between it. And then what we want to do is we want to go ahead and copy and check the attendee table, and if it's the user's not logged in, we want to add them. And I'm just going to paste that in because it takes a second to type. So let's pop that in there and then I'll explain it. All right, so what do we do? So we say, okay, we're going to check if that var user and attendee table, if it's not true, so if it's false, which means we haven't done this yet. Remember, we set that to false on the way in on the on start. So we're going to check that gallery, the all item count is 0. So if it's 0, means the current user is not in the attendee table. So what we're going to do is first we're going to patch. So let me come back to the patch. But the return value of the patch is the record that we create, in this case in SharePoint. So we're going to grab the .id and set that to this var current user attendee ID. So we patch, first parameter is the data source, the attendee. When it's a new one, we say the default. So if there's any default values, it puts it in there. And then these are the column names. And then notice all of this, we're just grabbing out of that var current user, the one we did from the My Profile. So we're grabbing the email, the given name, which is the first name, surname, department, mobile phone. And then what we do after that is we go ahead and set that variable to true, so we don't keep doing this every time we go in and out of the menu screen. And then this part is the else. So if the item count is not 0, then we go ahead and just look it up. So we set that var current user attendee, and then we look up the attendee based on the email address, and we store the ID. So we need that part going forward. So the next thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and start reading our collections, reading our data so we can shape it and kind of do it the way we want. Let's start with the first one. So I pasted it in there. We're going to clear collect, which removes the collection and then creates it. We're going to call it upcoming courses. So we're going to filter the course and just look for anything that's after now. And remember, the difference between now and today is now has the time as well, whereas today is just basically starting at midnight. So we're kind of looking for the current time they're doing it. This will give me all the upcoming courses that are scheduled in the future. But notice, if I go back to courses, it's got that lookup for the instructor, which we don't really want. We're going to want to display this nicely. So since I'm in the collections anyway, I might as well just go ahead and add instructor here. So I'm going to copy that here. Let me grab it from my sample so you don't have to watch me type it. There we go. Same kind of idea, but let's go through it. So I'm going to call this one upcoming courses with instructor. And then I'm going to do a for all loop. So it goes through every row, every record. And notice how you name it. This is how you refer to the column. So I'm going to call it as CC, and then I've got my bracket. So that creates a new structure, a new table, if you will. And this is the column name. So the name, I've got an instructor column, and then I'm looking up the instructor. So from the instructor list, and then I'm grabbing the ID. So if I go to instructor, it's got an ID here, 1 or 2, and then I'm looking up this whole record. Now, you might notice I'm getting a delegation warning here. I'd like to use value, but it's not clear to me why it doesn't work for value, because you've got ID and value are the same thing, same actual number, but it only works when I did it with ID. So not a big problem as long as I don't have more than 2,000 records. And I should go ahead and change that settings while I'm thinking of it. So notice it defaults to 500. So I'll put it as max value of 2,000. Go ahead and save that. So that is a bit of a downer, but it is kind of nice coming through. So as long as you don't have more than 2,000 courses in the future, this will all work. So I'm looking up the first name and then putting a space and then looking up the last name. And then all the rest of the stuff just comes right out of the table I was in. So I put in the course name, course description, course capacity, and I store the ID as well because I'll need it. Okay, so we're going to use these going forward, and I've got more of these. So I've got one more that's kind of the same kind of thing. So I'm going to grab the courses signed up. So again, call courses signed up, and I'm going to filter my course sign up list looking for my current attendee. And notice I'm using value here, so I don't have a problem with delegation here, but I have to convert it to text, because if our current user, it knows it's a number. And even though attendee ID is actually a number, it needs to, it doesn't know beforehand basically that it's going to be. So that one give me all the courses that I'm signed up, and then I'm going to do a very similar thing. So let me put that in and I'll explain, because if I come back over to this course sign up, I've got two things I got to look up. I want to look up the course and I want to look up the attendee, so they're not just numbers. So same kind of thing. So it's call future courses signed up. And so I'm doing really two things on it. I'm looking for only future ones, and I'm adding the columns that I want. So same kind of thing. I'm going through all the courses, and then I'm looking up, and this gets a little bit complicated because this table that I'm in only has the course ID. So I got to go over to courses to see when the start date is. So I'm coming over here looking up courses, again where the ID equals, and that's that same thing came in where I need the ID, so I do have a delegation. But this one's even easier, because as long as I don't have 2,000 courses that I've signed up for one user, then I'm good. So I'm looking up the course start date time. If it's greater than now, then only then do I create the new record. So this squiggly here is creating the record. So I'm doing the course ID. I'm looking up the course name. I'm going ahead and looking up the instructor the same way we did before, grabbing the instructor ID and the first name, looking up the instructor again, get the last name, getting the course description, the course end date, the time. So all the stuff that I want. So I basically just go through the whole thing and add the information that I wanted. Excellent. All right. And then I've got one more of these. As you might imagine, it's basically the same. So I copied the whole thing there, and I'm going to do the same thing with the past. Yeah, there's the future ones, past. So really the only difference is it's less than now. And then I've got the spinner there. So let's try this out. Remember, what we're going to do is let's go look at attendee. Make sure I'm not in there. I'll refresh that. Oh, and actually, there is one more thing. I need to really run this correctly. I need to go ahead and create another screen. So let's go ahead so I can navigate out of that. So let's say new screen. And the one it's the closest that I want is just this header and table. And I'm going to call this, we'll call it upcoming training screen. And we'll set this up later. So, but I do need to add, kind of like we did before with the, to get the back button in here. So we'll insert back arrow, and I'll move it to the front. And then I'm going to pause while I set this one up. It takes a minute to get the colors and so forth. Go check out the last video if you want to see that. I'll be right back. All right, so I'm back. You see I went ahead and put the navigate menu screen, and I set the button to be the primary color. So let's make sure we've run the on start, and then start here and go back to the main screen. And See that spinner went for a minute and then it added to my gallery, which I'll hide later on. Let's go check out and refresh this. And it added that one. See where it's now got Jeffrey Rhodes, got my 365, and I'm ID 16 now. And we can even come in if we wanted to look at variables. You can see our var current user is 16 there. So far so good. So let's do a couple other things here. So what I want to do on the buttons is use our collections to see whether they should be enabled or not, because it's possible they come in and there are no training classes in the future. We don't want them to go off to a different spot. So let's come in here. So we'll do the display mode here. So what we want to do, we want to if the count A, which how you count a collection, call upcoming courses, and we look for the ID column greater than 0, then we want to do display mode dot edit, else display mode dot disable, like that. Let's copy that because we're going to have similar ones for the other buttons. All right, so this one's going to be call future courses signed up. And this one doesn't have an ID column because it's based on that course sign up. So it's got a course ID like that. And notice it immediately disabled because I'm not signed up. Since I just added myself to the attendee table, I'm actually not signed up for anything. We'll put in the, change our data a little bit so that we can try that out. And this is going to be very similar. This will be call past courses signed up. Again, course ID. And that one's disabled as well. So that pretty much takes care of this screen. Again, we would hide this gallery because we're just using it behind the scenes. So let's go ahead and jump over. Well, first thing I want to do is I need to let me change some data for a second so that we can test some things. So notice, let's see which ones are in the past. We'll do the future ones, but yeah, so it looks like everything but Intro to Power BI, which is 4, is in the past, or is in the future. But let's just, I'll just go into Edit View and I'll just change all these for now. And notice how I can tell that it's 16. Oh, and this one I shouldn't do it twice because that's the same course, but I'll sign up for all the other ones. There we go. All right, so we'll exit out of Grip View. We can come over here and refresh. It's mainly that one, the course sign up that we want. And let's that'll help us on our table too. So let's go to upcoming training. Again, we'll run on start just in case it hadn't done yet. And we'll come back here. And if everything's working, those become enabled, which makes sense because those are, now we have both past and future ones. So let's see, I did upcoming training, so I should set up the on select here. We'll say navigate upcoming training screen. like that. All right, so let's set this one up. This one, like I said, we started with the basic thing that we wanted, and using all the collections. So it's got main content, but we're going to want to be able to search this as well. So I'm going to go ahead into this container, and I'm going to do see, these are horizontal, so I'll do another horizontal. And I'll push this one up like that. And then it takes a minute to set these up with the container, so let me pause here and I'll set this up and then we'll go over it so you don't have to watch me type all this in. All right, so I'm back. So I called this the search container, and then I set up containers inside of this because I want to be able to put the start and the end date in there. So I've just got a label, start date, and then I've got a picker, kind of one of the modern controls. And the main thing I want to show you is how you set up the dates. And so since this is upcoming training, I defaulted to today's date. So notice how I put today in there. And then if I look at this one over here, that's the end date. And so I put that as a year out from the current date. Oops, the wrong one. I want a selected date there. So I use the date add function today, and then I add 1, and then I said the units are years. So you see it's coming one date further. And then I've got one more one, which is a search label. And notice the text, I went ahead and put a emoji in there to make it be kind of fun. Where's the value? There we go. Oh, it's the placeholder text. So you can see I did it on the right here, search by course name. And then I went ahead and put a print icon in here as well, because the idea is they could print out a roster of their past or upcoming training in this case. So that's how we did all that. So now we just want to set up the table, and that's where this collection really comes in here nicely. So what we want to do, I'll just copy it over. I might have to change some of the names here, but there we go. So we're filtering, and then that's my collection of the future courses. And then we're filtering by course start date time is greater than that date picker, and it's less than the end date picker. And then again, to avoid delegation, I'm only doing a starts with on the course name. So that all gave us our data source. And then what I want to do here is I need to go ahead and add the fields that I want so I can put them in. And this is where it's paying dividends that I put the instructor and everything in there. See, if I hadn't done the instructor or hadn't put all those extra columns in there, then I would have to switch this to a gallery and have to look up things and everything. But now I've got everything what I want. So I'm just going to put the course name and then the instructor and then the start date. Whoops. Start date, end date, description, location, course capacity. So the only thing I won't put in there is the course ID, because that's like a database field. So nice. You can see if I come in here and I could change, let's try, I'll put like the end of April, or I'll put like the middle, I'll put the 22nd, so it should eliminate that. And as oh, that's because I'm on the wrong year. There we go. We got to go 2025 of April. So I'll say the 23rd. Yeah, you see when I did that, it eliminated those. And then the idea here is I can print this. My print's a little slow, so I'll pause for a second. All right, so it's done, but you can see it automatically came and prints my screen so I could see a list of all my courses if I wanted to. All right, so let's go ahead and I'm going to pause and set up the second screen, the future ones, which will be basically the identical of that, and I'll come back in just a second. All right, well, I'm back. It didn't take long. So I copied that one over, and main changes is just on the end date I put today, because this is the past one, so up through today, and then on the selected date for the start date I said date add, and I put -1 in so it goes back 1 year, and again they can adjust that if they needed. And then on the filter, just change the collection to be the call past courses signed up instead of the future one. So you can see if I do that, I have that one past one was back on the 4th of March. And I could print it and do all those kind of things. So let's go back to the menu screen. And I'll go ahead and add that navigate. So I've got to go to on select. Past training screen. All right, let's see if we can finish this app off now. So last but not least is what we do when we sign up for or edit training. So for that one, we're going to go ahead and use the same template that we did before on our previous video. So the table and form one. And so what we're going to do is edit that, and we're going to make it so that you can edit an existing training, delete an existing training, or sign up for a training where you're already not signed up for. So let's rename that. I'm going to call it new training form, new training screen. And we'll move it up so that it's in the right spot. We'll go ahead and add our logo real quick. And then I'll come in and put the back button in once we paused it. But let's see if we can get the table set up. So what we're going to want to do is filter. So we're going to use that one of those collections, the one with instructors. So that one we're going to say starts with. We're going to do course name, and then we'll do the search input to.value, like that. And we should need one. Whoops, need one more. There we go. So I can format that. Shows that it's working. And then we come in here and we'll edit the fields. And the main thing we want is whatever we do the first three, that's what will show up. So we'll do course name, we'll do the instructor, and we'll do the start time. And then the rest of this doesn't matter, so we'll just put it all in. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to get rid of the form, and let's put it back on this. We're going to get rid of this form, and I'm going to add some containers and patch and stuff. So I'm going to pause the video here, set some of that up, and then we'll come back and and do some further edits. All right, well, we're back. So let's take a look. Let me make this a little bit bigger. So I copied in we deleted that form, and then let's find the right one. We have 3. So we've got here we go, what I called the course sign-up container, and then inside of there it has column 1, column 2, and then each one of those has containers for the course name and the course description, going down so everything lines up. So we're not going to cover that. It's a long enough video already. But notice each one of the controls then has the value linked up to our current item, which is the selected record. So let me bring back the property sheet. And then all of these except for notes is set to display mode view, because they can't edit any of that. All they can really edit is the notes, or when they're adding a new one, because they'll automatically set it to the sign up date. So that's why this one's in green. And it's got a little bit more logic here on the value. So to really understand that, let's jump down a little bit first to this course sign up gallery. Let me find that. That's inside course attendees. Where did that one go? Oh, it's inside the button container. Here we go. Oh, a course attendee lookup gallery. So it's here. So inside the message container, we're filtering the course sign up table on both the selected course ID and the current attendee, which remember is the person who's logged in. So if the count of that's greater than 0, then that means they're already registered. So we're going to use that in just a second. But if we come back here to this one, so we're checking that. So if that's true, then we look up the right record and get our sign up notes. Otherwise, we just put blank in there. So that's how that one works. And then all the rest is the same. And then the message containers and so forth, those are very similar to the last video. So I go into a little more detail, but let's just look at it relatively quickly. So we've got this no capacity box. We go to the text first. It says there are no slots available. Please try another course. And so that's the text. And then the visible is we're looking at if the value of the slots available text is greater than or is less than or equal to 0. So that means there's no slots available. And then we also look at this next box, the already registered box, because if there's no slots available but the person's already registered, then we just want to say that you're already registered. We don't want to say there's no slots available. So let's jump down to that one. This one says you're already registered for the course. And again, the visible, we look at that attendee lookup gallery. So that one's right there again. And so if it's already, if it's greater than 1, then that means they're already, or greater than 0, then they're already in registered for the course. So let's see if we can play that and see, or actually let me go through the rest of these and then I'll play it. So inside this button container at the bottom, that's where I have this number of attendees and slots available. So number of attendees is we've got another gallery. We've got the attendee gallery. So it doesn't filter on which attendee we're in, but just on the course. So we're filtering the course sign up and then looking for everybody who's registered for that course. So that's the number of attendees. And then the slots available is, that's the color. We'll get back to that. Let's go back to the value or the text. So we grab the course capacity and we subtract the number of attendees already. And so you can see like right now there's no attendees. And then to kind of show off a little bit, we go ahead and color code that. And so we're basically looking. So if the if the capacity minus the attendees less than or equal to 0, we turn it red, so there's no slots available. And then if it's 20% or less, we make it orange, otherwise we make it green. So that's what's going on there. All right, so let's try it out, see what we get. So you can see it's adjusted. 100 minus 2 gives us 98, but we're already registered for the course. And notice, by the way, I haven't covered this update, but notice it says update there. So I'll show you how we did that. And then I'm already registered for this one as well. And this one I'm not. Notice that it's 50 slots available, and the text is changed to register. So that's all working well. And I think, let's see if I come up here. Yeah, so that's the other one. I'm not registered, but there's no slots available. Please try another course, and the slots available is 0. So that part's working pretty well. Let's go up and fix these other errors, and then we'll go show how we adjusted this. And you can see, by the way, the register got disabled, so I can't actually try to register because there's no slots. So that's the functionality that we want. So the other one is we're not going to use this new, so we're just going to delete that. Going to delete the edit as well because this thing is live. And then we are going to mess with this delete button. All right, so if we look at this, we won't change these context variables. We're doing that already, but let's look at the visible. So what we know is the only time that we want them to be able to delete is if they're already registered. So we can just come to visible here and say already registered box.visible. So if they're already registered, then they'll be able to delete. And then let's go ahead and deal with the deletion while we're talking about it, because in these templates, it's got a special template for that. I'll have to find it here. Oh, there we go. It's inside here. So you got to come in to this delete button. Yeah, so this basically has to be completely redone. So what we want to do here is do the course sign up table. And then we don't really have the selected record, so we have to look it up. So I'm going to copy that in there. So that's the record we're doing. We're looking up the course sign up, and we're looking for our selected record and the current user that we're on. And then we basically have the same thing here. So I'll just paste that again. And then this bottom part doesn't really matter. But one thing I'll put at the bottom here just to make it nice, so we can, a little notification that the record got deleted. So that takes care of our whole deleted part. Let's see what these other, yeah, so this one we don't really need. That's a new form. Let's see what this one is. Oh, and that's a back button thing. We don't need that either. Here we go. So let's go look at what we did on the cancel button. So all we're doing on cancel is we're just navigating to the menu screen. If we really cared, we could ask if they're sure or whatever. So now let's go to the select, the submit button. So first let's go to the text. So very much like we did with the delete button, if the already registered box is visible, then we use our text to update. We saw that already. Otherwise it says register. And then we can go to display mode. In this case, we're looking for the no capacity box is visible. So if the no capacity is visible means they can't update it. There's no capacity, they can't register, but they're not already registered where they would be able to update. So now we just go ahead and make it disabled. Otherwise, we make it enabled. So that's how we grade that out. And then let's go to the on select. All right, so fair amount of stuff here, but pretty straightforward. So if the already registered box is visible, which means that it's an existing registration, then we're going to patch it. So the first parameter is what we're patching, which is the course sign-up table. And then second one is what we're adding, what record we're editing. So we're going to look it up based on the course ID and the attendee ID. So very much like we did in that gallery. And then all we're going to write to it is the sign up notes canvas. And I decided not to change the sign up date, but you could have put like today's date in there. Else, which means it's a new record, patch course sign up default, so we put the default value in. And then if you watch the last video, you got to watch these lookup columns. So they're a little bit complex, but we're writing the course ID, so we have to just write the ID and the value with the squiggly brackets. So that's the current item and current item ID that we put into both, and then we do the same for the attendee, but we're putting in our var current user attendee ID, that number in both. Sign up date we put in for now, and sign up notes we put that same canvas, and then the rest of it's just cleanup. We're going to notify registration's been saved, and then I want to just go ahead and navigate. I didn't really want to have the whole experience where they sign up for another course. We could have, but I'm just going to navigate to the menu screen. So let's give it a shot, see if it works. Oh, and I didn't put a back button in yet, so I'm going to pause real quick and put that in, and then we'll finish it off. All right, well, that didn't take too long. Let's go ahead and try it out. Since it's been a while, I'm going to go ahead and run the on start and hit play, and I'll go back to the main screen, and all these are enabled as we'd expect. I'm going to, oh, I didn't set that one up to go to this screen yet, so let's do that. New training screen. All right, so let's see, we click on that. There's no slots available as we expect. You can't register. This one I'm already registered, so I could delete. So let's try that while we're here. Because actually it looks like I'm, for whatever reason, oh, I guess there's two different, same instructor. So let's just delete that, see if that works. I'm sure you want to delete, yes. And I thought it was supposed to navigate me to the other screen, so maybe I didn't put that in. Yep, so let's navigate that because it does need to update that collection. Yeah, notice it's kind of a bit confusing because that course is still there, but now I could register for it, not, so it got rid of my thing. Let's see if we see it. Course sign up, I'm not sure if it's, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 records, and if I refresh, yeah, now we got 4, so it got rid of that one, but now I could sign up for it again. So let's go ahead and sign up, and I can just put in some text like, this is some cool sign up text, and I hit register. So it should patch it over there. It says it's been saved and takes me back to that main screen. If I refresh again, Should have a new registration. Yep, some cool sign up text. So far so good. And let's see if we can edit one that's already there. So yeah, so I'm just going to say new text for our registration and hit update. So I should be patching that, updating it. And again, if I come back in, should have that same one. If I come up, refresh here, should have it. Nice, new text for our registration. So a couple cleanup things we could do, and probably the main one is I want to go ahead and go back in here and hide this gallery. So I'll go to the visible and just set that to false, so then the user doesn't see it, never know it's there. Other than that, I know this is a long video, but hopefully there's some concepts in here that were helpful. So be sure to subscribe. Let me know if you need any consulting help, and we'll see you next time.